We have internet fish showing up sooner than I thought. They're actually gonna be here tomorrow. They're gonna be the main fish that are in the Legit Fish Food headquarters show tank. We gotta prep this thing because it's kind of all over the place. So a few housekeeping things to do before we add the fish. I think you guys are really gonna like them. Need to go through this thing, get as much algae out of it as possible. Even though we don't have any fish in this aquarium and haven't really for a long time, we still have issues sometimes with algae. I'm also in the middle of a bunch of different projects. So one is working on the bigger pond that's gonna go over by the entrance to the fulfillment center. I just got back from Lowe's. We just bought some boards to try and make this thing look a little bit nicer, kind of frame it in so we don't have to stare at this stainless steel tub. I want to get some of the Sylvinia out of here. Hopefully we can time that pond build with taking this out, and that way we can reuse it. And we have a bunch of dwarf sage that Aquarium Co-op sent me, so we need to plant these. We need to kind of reorder things a little bit. We want to boost up more of the foreground plants in here, and overall just get everything looking a little bit nicer for our awesome new fish. So let's do it. So we got to take the cocoa fiber off. I try and get as much of this off as possible, but it's okay if there's a little bit left over. It's not going to do any harm in your tank. Luckily, the dwarf sage is really easy to plant. You're going to notice that the dwarf sage here has a crazy good root system. There's a lot of runners on each piece. The foliage here isn't really important because this is going to transform completely anyway, and it's going to eventually look like the stuff that we already have in the tank, which is that submerged growth. If you guys want to check out what Aquarium Co-op has to offer, there will be a link down below, and I think there's a sale going on where if you buy 3 or more plants, you get 15% off. The next thing I want to do is trim up some of the crazy root systems that are coming off of the Java fern in this tank. So it's getting a little crazy. Doing this isn't going to harm the plant really. It's just going to make the overall tank look a lot better. So couldn't find my normal aquascaping scissors, had to go with these standard ones, but once that was done, then it was time to just go through the tank and pick off a bunch of the dead material. It's something that commonly happens with this plant and it's totally normal. Just go through, prune it off. While you do this, you are going to find a lot of new baby Java fern plants. So one of the benefits of doing this is you get a bunch of free aquarium plants that you can use in a different tank. Then it was time to just finish off with a big old water change. So go through with the Python and get what was down on the substrate. There wasn't a ton of waste in this tank. We already got pretty much most of the algae with this, and then just start filling the tank up. I think I did maybe a 20% water change here. That's all we needed. All right, mission accomplished. So I also cracked open the filter, cleaned out my pre-filter sponges, got that thing running a little bit faster. Now the Sylvinia is definitely doing a tornado with the pump in the back. We gotta raise that thing up. So current USA pump, pushing the main portion of the water in the rear. Try and finagle this guy up one-handed here. That's a little bit better. It's a powerful pump. It's really pushing water all the way. And then we have our Waza canister pushing in the front. So we do have some dead spots in this tank, like especially down at the bottom on the left side. And then of course in our little, pardon the reflection, in our little caves here in the trees, but not really an issue. I think the new fish that we get, I almost said the name of the fish. I don't want to blow it. I guess it really doesn't matter. You're gonna see here in just a second what we got, but check out the dwarf sage in the front. So this is some of the stuff that's been slowly growing over time here. We got some of the newer pieces put into place, and you know, hopefully this thing decides to fill out one of these days. We are running CO2 on this tank, but it doesn't really matter because the lighting is so low down here at the bottom of the tank. I don't even want to guess how many par this is. Probably like 5 or 10, maybe. Anyway, I think that's pretty much everything we got to do tonight. Hopefully when we come back to the tank tomorrow morning, when we have the fish, hopefully around that time, the tank will be a little bit more clear and it'll just be awesome putting those fish in and they'll look really good. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping they come in colorful. All right, next day, the fish are here. This time we got them from Imperial Tropicals. So full disclosure, never ordered from these guys before. Paid full price for everything. I was looking all over for these fish, couldn't find them. The wet spot was out of stock. They have been for a long time. And so this was the place, and I recognize the name. I've heard a lot of good things about Imperial Tropicals over the years. I'm pretty sure they're like a legit fish farm in Florida, but don't quote me on that. I have pretty much no doubt that these fish are gonna be in good conditions, but they did have to come from Florida. So who knows what kind of weather conditions there might have been. I think we're gonna be good. My choice for an opener are these pliers or an axe that's outside. What do you think? Let's get these guys open. Double quality checked, always good to see. So this is basically just the DOA policy. If we see any dead fish, you know, take a picture of what's in the bag before we open anything, and then we're eligible to probably get a refund for our fish. Got a little thank you card, and then I'm looking for the acclimation instructions because every place is different. I know in the last video, We talked about, you know, when you ship fish, you want to make sure to open the bag right away and then put the fish in because of an ammonia spike, but that's not always the case, especially when you're getting fish shipped from a place that fasts the fish beforehand. It's not as important, but it's just always something that you just never know. So that's always been the way that I do it. But enough of that. Let's check out these fish. We have some very nice Millennium Rainbowfish. Let's check these guys out. So we'll have to go through. We got males and females. This, I believe, is gonna be one of the males. And then I think this is another male. Really cool fish. I'll explain my whole rationale for why we picked these here in just a second, but I wanna just check everybody out here, make sure everybody's looking good. So this is gonna be there's 4 fish in here. I think these are my 4 females. Everything looks alive, everything looks good. Let's get these guys up and let's start acclimating them. Clamps for the win. So this is one of those times where having a bunch of extra stuff around helped me out. The glass was a little bit too thick to get these bags in, but luckily we had a tree trunk nearby so we could hold these bags in place. You can choose to turn your lights off while you acclimate, or you can just dim them down, you know, kind of create a chill environment for the fish to get ready to be in, you know, a full sun type of environment. Just kind of a courtesy thing. It's not gonna make or break your fish's survival rate, but over here on this side of the tank, it's already pretty dim, so I think we're doing pretty good here. We're gonna wait like 20 minutes-ish, and then we'll get them in the tank. There's our 3 females. They're kind of the yellower grouping of the 3 fish, and then we have 1 male, who I think is that dude right there. He's a lot more red than the other 3. And then we have another male and another male. So we have a total of 3 females, 3 males. They only had a handful of females available, and there was 1 male left. So my original order was for 3 females, 1 male, and then I figured I'll just get 2 more males at a later time. And of course the males came back into stock right before my order shipped. So I quickly put in another order. They were able to pick that up and put it all together. Got a refund for the extra shipping I paid. So far, pretty good experience. I mean, we're pretty much done with the experience. It was a good one, I'd say. Only difference here was that I had to pay probably $10 extra for shipping because they had to come from the other side of the country. Whereas with the wet spot, I'm on that side of the country. It was only 30 bucks, and that's consistent with what it would cost if you were to buy from the wet spot if you lived on the East Coast. So I was okay with that. There's a good shot of the color difference in that male. I'm excited to get these in, guys. I think it's time. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Everybody is here. And you know what I just saw, guys? I saw a guppy in this tank. Where did he go? So many reflections, man. There he is. He's trying to make friends. Not 100% sure how this little guppy got in here, but I think he's gonna be okay. I don't think he poses a threat to any of these fish. It's obviously the other way around. You just you do the math and it's okay. I'm more concerned about them eating him, but I think he'll be okay. Everything's gonna be fine. So the fish are looking really good. Super happy with the choice here. So again, the reason why I got these fish is primarily because of the male's really deep, dark red color. They obviously don't have that now. That's gonna take, you know, a while for them to mature and to develop into that, but I just think that they'll add a really good effect to the tank, and I'm looking for that red color. I'm sure you can guess the fish that I currently have that will be eventually going in here once we make sure these fish are all healthy and good. And I mean, I just really love rainbow fish. It's been a while since I've had like a good collection of them, but I've had a lot of them over the years. So I thought about Bosemani's, I thought about going with just turquoises as well, trying to keep the colors the same, but I really wanted that red. And so this is probably the reddest rainbow fish that you can get. I know that there's some other types that are red-ish, but I also really like the females of this species, like the albino millenniums. I just think are stunning fish, especially when you get them happy, mature, healthy. I just think they're gonna add a lot to the tank, especially with the other fish that we're gonna eventually add to this tank. You're not gonna see exactly what they're gonna become for quite a bit though. I mean, it's, you know, it could take a year, it could take longer for them to really get to where they want. I'm not sure how old these fish are. Again, not a fish expert. They're 2 to 3 inch long fish. I'm sure somebody out there can help do the math on that and figure out when these fish are going to be what I want them to be, but they're great. I love them right now. I think they're gonna go perfect in this thing. It's the next day and all the fish are still in the tank, I promise. At first glance, you might think that they all jumped out last night, but I swear there are 6 fish in here. We just did a count and I looked thoroughly behind this thing. There's a couple of them. Still getting used to the new tank. This is, you know, a pretty big aquarium. There's a lot of room to explore and they're definitely still a little skittish. Should be able to get them comfortable enough to start eating and behaving normally as they will for the rest of their lives in here in the next few days. That's what I'm hoping for. Still a lot of hiding going on in the back of the tank and down low at the bottom near the substrate. All pretty normal things, so we're not alarmed by it. Having some other fish in here to kind of encourage their normal activities would also help, but we gotta wait a few more weeks and make sure these guys are healthy. There's a look at one of the females. A couple things that can really help out with preventing fish from jumping out of a rimless tank that doesn't have a lid like this is having a lot more floating plants than what we have in here right now, but certainly something up at the top to kind of discourage them, or at least visually discourage them from trying to jump. That helps, as well as just having a tank that has a pretty good height to it. So if there's a lot of up-down swimming room, at least in my experience, that seems to prevent fish from jumping out as much. Still, it's not a bulletproof thing. Every once in a while, a fish will still jump. The other thing that you either have or you don't is a sturdy foundation. So when we walk in here on the concrete, it's not sending a bunch of vibrational confusion to the fish. So basically preventing them from getting scared also helps a tremendous amount. Something I am dealing with is the roll-up door. Besides it being like 150 degrees, it also does make a little bit of vibrational noise that then transfers over to the tank. So we don't want that. We're working on getting some French doors in here and making my life a little bit easier, as well as the fish's lives a little easier. So that is where we are with our big display tank in here, guys. Not much else to say about it, to be honest. Like, we did a clean on it, you know, introducing new fish, and now having to put fish food in here, we are going to be kind of changing the ecosystem a little bit. So we want to be mindful of course, introducing new algae issues and things like that. But of course, you know, we're going to be feeding them legit fish food, which, without giving too much away, here's a tank that is not being fed legit fish food. This one's getting a different brand, and as you can see, a ton of algae. And then we have the legit fish food tank, which doesn't look pretty. We are overfeeding the heck out of this thing, but it has much less of an issue than that other aquarium does. Not to mention, we just noticed that this one is starting to throw nitrogen, whereas this tank does not have any nitrogen present in the water column at all. Kind of crazy. If you guys haven't tried legit fish food yet, we got samples of all 3 of the different foods. You can get them for free, just pay a little bit for the shipping. You get a really cool discus sticker too. As we saw in the beginning of this video, no fish, no food, still had algae. It's an impossible battle to get through unscathed. So there's always gonna be degrees to it, but guys, you can do it. I know you can. It's a super discouraging thing to constantly battle algae, but don't forget that nature can sometimes lend its hand and actually help you out. Just be patient. We probably could have got at least 6 more of these fish if we really wanted to. The main reason why I didn't do that was because I was buying fish from a new place, Imperial Tropicals. I just, for whatever reason, didn't feel like spending more than a couple $100 for the first time, you know, but I feel very comfortable now. I think it's a pretty good place to get fish. Once we get the other fish that are gonna be in here, then I think we'll kind of get a better feel for how everything looks and how things are balanced. And then we might just go ahead and get some more rainbows. I'm thinking probably more of the same millenniums, but I don't know, maybe my mind will change and we want to add a little splash of a different color in here as well. But I think we're gonna wait on it a little bit and just see how things go. So yeah, guys, that's the tank, that's the fish. That is where we're at. Hopefully we can get those other fish that are gonna swim with these guys in pretty soon, hopefully in the next couple weeks or so, and we can really round this thing out. Looking forward to it. I hope you are too. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.